Hey guys, how's it going? Thank you for clicking play. If you're new here, my name is René, and make sure you hit that subscribe button for more nerdy language learning videos. Today's video is really fun, well at least I think it's fun. As you can tell by the title, I will be talking about the nominative or der Nominativ in German. And since you've probably already been studying German, you know that German has 4 cases, right? And depending on where the words are located in a sentence, they'll be changing. They'll be evolving like Pokemon, changing up on you as if they had 4 different personalities. My advice to you is to learn the gender to every word from the beginning, because if not, it gets really confusing. Der turns into den or dem, or die will also turn into der. Adjectives, for example, will go from not having an ending to having an E ending, or if they're feeling feisty and sassy one day, they'll come at you with an ER, an EN, or ES even. So it gets really confusing and it can be a nightmare. So learn the gender from the very beginning. Nouns in the nominative case are der for masculine, die for feminine, das for neuter, and die for plural. And these are all what are called the definite articles, or the, right? Because it's definite, you know, it's that specific book or that specific car. It's not any old car or any old book, it's that one, the book, right? And then you have indefinite articles, which means a or an. Ein for masculine, eine for feminine, and ein for neuter. You might see keine for the plural form, but it really doesn't exist because you can't say, you don't say a books or an eggs, right? You just say books and eggs. So you can have der or ein Wagen, das ein Handy, die eine Pflanze. Basically, it's the form that you end up seeing when you look up words in the dictionary form. I know it could be kind of tricky or funny to assign a gender to an inanimate object. Like why is an apartment feminine? Why is a cell phone neuter? You just have to get used to it. If you speak a language that has gender-specific nouns, then this might be a lot easier for you to grasp. You know, you might have to change genders around for words, like for example in Spanish you say la mesa, it's feminine, but in German it's masculine because it's der Tisch. So just keep on practicing and yet again learn the gender to every word from the very beginning. So what is the nominative case? How do I identify it? So nouns are usually the subject, the indirect object, and the direct object in a sentence. When it comes to the nominative case, we're talking about the subject, right? The protagonist, the HBIC, the main character in the sentence. The subject is usually someone or something that is doing the action. A little tip here is to check the verb, see how it's conjugated. It usually always reflects back on the subject. And the question words you have to ask yourself when it comes to the nominative case is who or what. For example, die Pflanze ist grün, right? The plant is green. You ask yourself, who or what is green? Die Pflanze is green. Well, she should be green if you water her when you're supposed to. And you can also see the verb here is conjugated, the verb sein, if you check, is conjugated into the third person plural, ist. Third person singular, not plural, right? And it's not seid or bist or whatever, right? It's ist. So that gives you a clue as to who or what the subject is. Another example, im Garten spielen die Kinder. So what's the subject here? Was sagst du? I feel like Dora here, or Gretchen, or Heidi. I don't know what the equivalent would be. If you said Kinder, that's the correct answer, right? So who is doing the action? Who is playing? The garden or the kids? The kids, right? If you check the verb spielen, you could see that it's conjugated into the third person plural and not third person singular, right? Because it's the kids, right? You get it? Another example. Eine Frau hat mich angerufen. Who is calling? Who is doing the action here? Die Frau, right. So some crazy ass lady who you don't know saying that you're the baby daddy, right? So it's the lady who is calling, right? She is calling me. So now let's take a more complex sentence just so I could get my point across. Zum Geburtstag geben die Eltern ihrer Töchter einen Wagen. So who is the subject here? Check the verb. Right away you know it's geben, right? It's in the plural form and it's not gibt. So that tells you that it's not Töchter, right? So that leaves you with Eltern und Wagen. And unless this were a fairy tale where inanimate objects could run around and talk, it's not Wagen, one, because cars don't do that, and two, because it's in the accusative case, the direct object, right? I hope this doesn't confuse you, but I'll be talking about direct and indirect objects in other videos, which are basically synonyms for Dativ und Akkusativ. So yes, the answer is Eltern, right? So who is gifting, who is giving the car? The parents are. Zum Geburtstag, Geburtstag. So here's this little lovely chart for you guys. Pull out your notebook, your computer, your tablet, or even your leg to jot it down. Remember, masculine, der, ein, feminine, die, einer, neuter, das, ein, plural, die, or keine because it doesn't exist, right? For indefinite articles. You don't say a dogs or an eggs. You just say dogs or eggs. This wasn't too hard, was it? Now for the next bit, I want you to go, to hit pause, go refill your cup of coffee or tea, run around the block, do some jumping jacks, whatever you need to do because I need your attention and the next part gets a little bit tricky. Adjective endings in the nominative case. So adjectives are pretty much words that describe a noun. Hot, tall, skinny, fat, crusty, dusty, musty, pretty, purple, whatever, right? And adjectives change depending on the case. I know, it's a lot. But you wanted to learn German and she's not gonna have pity on you. You can do this, come on. Let's get through this. Okay, so in German you have der words and ein words. Let's start with der words first. Diese, jede, welche, solche, und manche. These are all in the masculine form, but remember they change depending on the gender and the quantity. Let's use diese. Dieser Tisch, diese Pflanze, dieses Handy, diese Tische. Adjectives in the nominative case take on new endings, all right? So copy these down as well. ER for masculine, E for feminine, ES for neuter, and E for plural. Now let's do some practice. Wann fährt dies Zug nach Berlin? So what gender does Zug take? Masculine, neuter, feminine? What do you say? If you said masculine, you're right. So you add an ER, right? Since it's der Zug. So, wann fährt dieser Zug nach Berlin? When does this train go, leave, for Berlin? Welch Zeitung ist das? What gender is it? Die, der, oder das? Die, right? She's feminine. So, welche, you add an E, Zeitung ist das? So, what newspaper is that? Ist dies Platz frei? What gender is it? Masculine, right. Ist dieser Platz frei? Is this seat taken? So you add an ER, right, to diese, since it's der Platz. Dies Kleid steht dir sehr gut. What is it? Die, das, oder der? Or die, because it's plural. What do you think? Das, correct. Dieses Kleid steht dir sehr gut, right? So you add an ES since it's das Kleid. So this dress looks good on you. Okay, last one. Dies Pflanzen sind grün. What do you think? It's plural, right? If you check the verb, it's sind, right? And if you check the word, it's Pflanzen with an N, so you know it's plural, right? So diese, you add an E. Pflanzen sind grün. So you might be asking, why isn't grün modified? And that's because grün, or green, comes after the noun and not before it. We just went over a two-word combination, so a der word plus a noun. So now what happens when you have three? A der word plus an adjective plus a noun. It's not as crazy as you might think, it's actually pretty straightforward. Masculine, neuter, and feminine adjectives take E, and plural take en. So let's use our chart from before to plug them in. Dieser neue Tisch, diese neue Pflanze, dieses neue Handy und diese neuen Tische, right? So here I'm using der words, but what if you want to use die, der, oder das? So the pattern only holds for the adjectives and not the articles, right? So it would be der neue Tisch, die neue Pflanze, das neue Handy und die neuen Tische. Got it? What I want to say here is that the articles don't decline, right? They don't change. It's not der, die, nor das, right? Because that doesn't exist. So now let's take a look at ein words. Ein, kein, mein, dein, sein, ihr, sein, unser, euer, ihr, and I'm reading this and I can't read it, and I still get it wrong. Ihr und ihr if it's polite, right, with a capital. So now let's see what happens to an adjective that goes before the noun in the ein form, so the three-word combo, right? Ein alter Tisch, eine grüne Pflanze, ein neues Handy, grüne Pflanze, right? So ER for masculine, E for feminine, ES for neuter, and E for plural. Now let's have some fun and practice. Das ist ein gut Film. So what is Film? Der, die, oder das, or die if it's plural? Der, right? So you add an ER. Das ist ein guter Film. That is a good movie. Unser Althaus ist zu klein. So what is it? Der, die, oder das? Das, right? Das Haus. So you add an ES to the adjective. Unser altes Haus ist zu klein. Our old house is too small. Hier ist mein neue Adresse. So what's Adresse? Masculine, feminine, plural, or neuter? Feminine, right? So die. You add an E. If you check your chart, it should be an E. Hier ist meine neue Adresse. Here is my new address. Sie sind unsere best Freunde. What do you think? It's plural, right? If you check the verb, it's sind. So, sie sind unsere beste Freunde. They are our best friends. Let's do a couple more, only this time I won't tell you if it's a der word or an ein word. You have to figure it out. Der Wein ist viel besser. Der Wein, right? So, der andere Wein ist viel besser. Since Wein is masculine, der Wein, we add an E to ander. So, andere. Ist ein schwierig Problem. What do you think? Das Problem, right? So it's neuter. So the first das means that. So now if you check your chart, we don't add anything to ein, but we do have to add an ending to schwierig, right? So it changes to schwieriges because Problem is das. Das ist ein schwieriges Problem. That is a difficult problem. Est, seid, sind schwer. What do you think? I made it a little bit trickier, so check the verb. Is it plural or is it singular? It's plural, right? What gender does seid take? Die, right? So plural, feminine. Die ersten Seiten sind schwer. The first times are difficult, hard. I really hope that this video was useful, that it clarified any doubts that you might be having with the accusative case, the nominative case. I will be making videos on the accusative, the genitive and the dative case. So keep your eyes peeled because we all know that German grammar in general is a bit more challenging, but it does, it just takes time, practice, and lots of reading before you start to see the patterns. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends because sharing is caring. And also please subscribe to my channel for more language learning videos. I wish you the best of luck with your German studies. Stay safe, wear your mask, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.